I'm just trying to get myself set up here, so I'm a little bit more organized.
Okay, well then, good evening, everybody. I'm Dave Elkis. I am president of TBLOA. Thank you all for joining us this evening for our returning officials training for 2024. Tom Fitzsimons, our chief trainer, will be taking over momentarily. I want to acknowledge the members of the training committee who are on tonight. Wayne Gebline, Mike Gunther, Steve Verba, Mike Doyle. Thank you all for being here tonight. We've got a full set of training planned for you every Wednesday night for the now and through the end of the month. So please be sure to block out your calendars at 7:30. Also, for TBLOA members, our preseason in-person meeting is going to be on Saturday, the 27th at noon at the Hilton Garden Inn in Temple Terrace. Ron Bitz has once again provided us a meeting location, so we'll have that. There should be an Arbiter event going out tomorrow with an invitation. Please accept or decline. I hope everybody will be able to be there. I want to make sure we have enough food for everybody, so please accept or decline. We prefer that you be there, of course. If you are a TBLOA primary member, I have your rule books for 2024. If you're at IMG this weekend, I'll have them there, and I'll also have them at the in-person meeting. Other than that, we'll have to see if we get them to you at the Youth Jamboree on the 3rd of February. And that's all I have for initial announcements. Please visit the swag shop. Tom, you're up.
Swag shop, yes, the swag shop. Guys, welcome. 2024 is here and it's right around the corner. We're ready to get going. We're going to go through this pretty quickly. Nothing super major on changes. We're going to go through a little house cleaning. Mike Gunther will jump back on and go through a little bit more of the secretary stuff as far as getting yourselves your JLAs and anything else that needs to get done. So, but again, we're going to introduce you to so this is kind of our agenda. Welcome, administration, uniforms. I just want to go through for new guys that are now part of our crew. Mike's going to address JLA cards. We'll go through the 24 rule changes, and then we'll take a peek at Arbiter again because we still struggle with that a little bit as an association.
Slides up, please, Tom?
Huh?
Will you share the slides, please?
I thought I did. Oh, Lord. I think this is my first rodeo.
We need an IT guy.
Oh, stop it.
Well, I only have the V1 version of the slides, not the final copy, so they'll be behind if I do it.
I am trying to share as we speak. Share screen. There we go. I apologize, guys. It's been a long day at work.
Hasn't come up yet, Tommy.
We got movement here on this slide. I'm hitting buttons.
No, it's not shared, sir.
I hit share twice already. Share screen.
And then you got to click the share in the bottom right. There we go.
I'm about to put this computer through the wall anyway. So this is your training committee. It's a group of guys that have been getting together. We pretty much get together at least monthly. We're communicating on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis, when the new rules come out, where we're going to go, how we're going to change training if we need to, doing all the new trainees, going out there and doing evals and on-field training and observations with new officials. So these guys put a lot of time in for little gain other than to make sure that the association is continuing to move forward in a positive direction. And I want to thank them all for their time and their effort. The ones that can make it tonight, thank you. The ones who haven't, I know they've shared enough time with me. So, and I'm getting feedback already. Coursework. We got, this is our review on 2024 boys rules course. We're gonna, the rules exams are, I believe, available now.
They are
on US Across. No,
They are, yes.
Yeah. And I know David sent out numerous information, and Mike sent out some information on how to get to the e-learning platform and get to the professional development course, which is something you need to get done to be out there on the field. So make sure you do all that. FHSAA registration.
Before
make
you
sure
jump
get
on,
that-
before you get there, Tommy, if I may, USA Lacrosse changed their e-learning platform once again this year, as if last year's change wasn't enough. So if you want to access your rules exams and your annual professional development, you do it from the My Account portion of USA Lacrosse. Used to be you would click on a button that said, take me to e-learning. Now you click on My Transcript, and under the transcript, it'll show you last year's certification and tell you that it expired. And then you'll see 2024 certification, and it'll say incomplete. And when you click on the certification, it'll open it up and show you what you need to do in order to complete your certification. So it'll show you, hey, here's a module on how to use our e-learning platform. If you can't figure it out, that's it's in there. If you've ever taken the rules course, it'll show you that you've completed it. You only have to take that once in your life. But then you have to take this year's rules exams. We recommend both the youth and the high school rules exam to make you eligible for everything we have that isn't FHSA or all our tournament stuff. So take both of those, and then the annual professional development course is basically it's a recording of a webinar on the rules changes for 2024. So it'll be a rehash of what we're going over tonight, but it's run by Jim Carbonneau from USA Lacrosse and Eastern Mass, and he'll be going over the rules changes and the rationales from the NFHS and USA Lacrosse perspective as to why those rules were implemented and how they got to where we are today. But those are all done from the My Account section and My Transcript. You don't go to the e-learning platform on the whole anymore. Thank you.
No problem. Make sure you're getting registered for FHSAA. What was the deadline for that, David? Do we have a deadline on that? Or
Yeah,
just need to go by-
the early registration deadline is 1/15. So you need to register by 1/15 or you will get a late fee from FHSAA. So make sure you get that in before 1/15 if you're not already registered. You can go to, if you're already in Arbiter, just go to the FHSAA Central Hub in Arbiter and click on the registration tab at the top. If you are not currently in Arbiter, because you're new, you're a transfer and you haven't gotten that far yet, you can go to the FHSAA.com website, click on officials on the top right-hand corner of the page, scroll down, and in the middle, it'll be register as a FHSAA official, and that'll take you through to their central hub so that you can register that way. They'll be releasing the exam on 1/15. We'll go over test prep probably around 2/8, but if not the week before, but you can take it anytime you like. Remember, you get one bite at the apple, unlike the USA Lacrosse exams, which you can take as many times as you need to pass. You get one shot at the FHSAA exam. So when you get in there, print down, copy all your questions into Word. If you need to do that, you can sit down with your rule book, if you have an online rule book or the hard copy, and go through any questions you're unfamiliar with. You can take that test, or you can wait till test prep, whatever works for you.
And we will be going through the questions that are available on the test. That doesn't mean those will be the ones that you have. Usually there's I don't know, 75 or 80 questions that they choose the 50 to present to us. So you may get any set of that, but we will go through some of the ones that nationally may have stymied some guys or false numbers and stuff, just so you guys are prepared. Similar to what we did last year. Just want to remind everybody about our social media presence. We've got Facebook at TBLAX Refs. We've got a Twitter or X formerly Twitter at TBLAX Refs. We've had in our TBLOA.org and Facebook and the National Men's Game, you've got all kinds of videos. You've got other stuff that you can communicate with other officials across the country, get involved in discussions on abstract rule interpretation, and of course, we have our swag shop, which goes to help our coffers, guys. Well, you know, you spend, there may be a little spiff that comes back and goes into coffers or not, but who knows? But it wouldn't hurt to look a little bit more professional out there. I know I'm probably gonna get rid of my 10-year-old gray that I use for youth, so.
We have plenty of polo shirts, jackets. There are a couple new hat options out there, including a couple of buckets for guys who like bucket hats. We do not have, other than hats, we don't have any game apparel out there. There is one jacket you could wear, although I guess there's one jacket you could wear. But there's a lot of options out there for polos and hats and jackets and bags. If you need a new gear bag, those are out there too. The association gets $2 a unit. So yes, the prices are artificially inflated by $2.
Initiatives that we put into place last year was our mentorship program, an evaluation program, our development program, meaning referees. And then we're going to continue to, we're constantly evaluating how best to provide you guys content, questions that'll help you out on the field and direct you where you need to be and so forth. So we're still working on that. If anybody wants an evaluation, normally evaluations will start with the first year guys, then go to the second year guys and third year guys. But if you're a little bit more senior and you want to eval, kind of see where you're at in the mix, you can contact Mike Gunter or Eric Nielsen, and they'll set something up and someone will come out, kind of evaluate. This is not supposed to be a negative, guys. Understand this is supposed to be a learning development opportunity for you. There may be some criticism, but it's constructive criticism, how you get to the next level. Try to push you to get to the next level and be the best you can be while you're out there on the field. So take it for what it's worth. We're not here to try to put anybody under a rock or hide them at the, you know, U8 games all the time or whatnot. This is to get you to the next level. We want success for everybody. That's why there's 9 guys on this committee and not just, you know, one guy spurting out stuff. We talk about this stuff a lot and how best to develop you guys and help you guys get to where you need to be. So we all realize that we're all getting old. So we want the younger guys to take over and run things and move up the ladder. Uniforms and equipment, we are still on 1-inch stripes. You still need your black hat with your white pinstripe, black shorts, black socks. And make sure that, you know, they're not going all the way up to your knees. And jacket and gloves, optional. Shoes, try to make them as all black as possible. Let's not go out there with white ones with a black swoosh. You know, none of us can be out there all the time. There are some very, very good options out there that are lightweight, that have good traction. Some of them are trail running shoes. Some of them are just some turf shoes that are very, very light, that you can get up and down the field quickly, and they still have the traction you need, say on a slippery turf field and so forth. I know I use Brooks. I think Wayne actually uses Brooks as well. David uses another option, and Mike Doyle probably has another, but I've seen them all, and they're all very, very good options, and they're relatively inexpensive. It's something you probably have to buy every year, right? If you do, and I would suggest you buying new sets every year, because arch supports go on your shoes, and take it from a guy who runs a lot. If you're not rotating out your shoes, you're going to feel it in your knees and your lower back after going to a tournament or a game. You're lucky if you could get, you know, a year out of them if you're doing 30, 35 high school games and maybe another 20 youth games, and then many tournaments we do. So get yourself some good footwear. It's definitely going to help you in the long run. Otherwise, you'll end up like Wayne. And I'm just kidding with you, Wayne. Just figured I'd wake you up. Not sure if you're still there.
I muted myself so I wouldn't get in trouble.
Whistles. I suggest you have 2. Some guys have the finger hold one, some and a one on a string. I haven't taken to that yet. I usually have I have multiple. Every time I go to a convention for lacrosse, I'm usually buying a couple Fox 40s just to throw them in my bag. I might, if I have a decent, flags, I'll get some decent flags to have backups. Seems that they disappear and break. A Fox 40 that you've been using for 5 years, rotate it out, get a clean one. Make it look professional. The guys who use the one on the string, I think that's just I think all of us on the training committee have had a whistle knocked out of our hands and had not had one in our pocket. That's why I always carry one in my pocket. That's what the string is for. Those guys who have one on their finger, one around their neck. Either way, just make sure you're carrying two out on the field. Flags have two. No need to have more than that. You've got partners, they've got two. Scorecard and pencil, always good to have those. I have, when I was at the TBLOA convention, there was a company that was selling a pad. It's basically a little, almost card stock, similar, shaped exactly like the card that's shown there, has all the same detail. You rip it off and you can stick it in your pocket. You can fill it out and go from there. I'm going to see if I can get someone to make those up down here, so that we can have them available for you guys, because I thought it was a great deal. I bought a couple of packets of them, and we're going to see if, I think we had someone who was part of the association who was had printing, who did some printing and stuff like that. So maybe we can get those out to you as well. Make sure you have a coin in it if you're not the R, because you never know if the coin get dropped or went through a hole in the pocket or was forgotten by your R. So have a coin and have a tape measure. As that tape measure shows the coin stuck in the clip, I do the same thing. It's a great way to make sure you've got both, right? If you can grab that tape measure, you've got that coin at all times. And get yourselves a 20-second timer. Very important to have something, especially in those contentious games, even in the youth side. Everybody's going to question your hand count, but they hear that timer go off, they can't question whether you got your 20-second call or not, and you got over in time and so forth. So preventive maintenance, make sure you've got your stuff all up to snuff. David has got batteries. What size batteries are those, Dave, again? The
A23s, for those of you who have the 20-second timer that takes the A23 battery. I was able to pick up about a dozen or so of those. So if anybody needs one, please let me know. They're $2 a piece. It's my cost. I think they were $201 or something like that. I don't care. They're $2 a piece. You can cash or Venmo me if you need them. They're Duracells. They last a little bit longer than the Energizers you get at Walmart. So, which are also $2. So if you need them, I have them. I'll have them at IMG. I'll have them at our in-person meeting and at the youth jamboree while supplies last. So.
I'm just going to quickly go through this. Mike is going to jump back on. We're going to go through the JLA cards. We're going to go through new officials and 5-year renewals for anybody through Hillsborough County. So we'll go through all that again at the end of this, so Mike can join us and participate, because he really wants to share some things with you. All right, so at this point, I just kind of want to talk about decorum and professionalism amongst ourselves. We had a few incidents in the last couple of years that caused the disciplinary community to have to, pass a suspension and/or suggested suspension, or push guys away from being able to do this. Some of them actually were elevated to the next level because they got wind of the state. I understand that guys don't get along, may not like personalities, may not, and that's fine. As an assigner, if you communicate that to me in a professional manner, I will do my best to make sure that your personalities don't clash out on the field. But should you end up having to work with somebody who maybe you don't understand the way they do things, you don't like the way they prepare or whatnot. You are professionals. And we're hoping that, you get through it, and we'll do our best to make sure we don't put you in that way. Talking out of turn though, right? Saying things to other officials about other officials, sending stuff out on social media or via email can get you into trouble. We've seen it as college officials where guys have no longer gotten games, and it could be an offhand remark. So just be aware that you're monitored. You can have free speech. Everybody's got free speech, but there's also an opportunity for somebody to see it and roll it up through the chain of command, and all of a sudden you're not getting games anymore. And we don't want that to happen. We don't want anybody to suffer those fates that other individuals may have had through the state. So I'm just bringing it up, keeping it simple. I don't know if any of the other guys want to talk about it.
Well, briefly,
Okay.
Tom's right. Your free speech protects you from the government. It doesn't protect you from your fellow official or from your officials association feeling that you've said something over the line. So treat everybody with respect. Those of you who have worked with me know that I call everybody on the field, sir, even the coach that I'm throwing out, sir, you got to go. So try and be respectful toward everyone, even guys you don't like. You can be professional. I've seen guys be professional with people they can't stand. I know most of them are professional with me and most of them don't like me. It's okay. But let's try and avoid having to convene the grievance committee this year. That would be a really lovely thing. Your board would appreciate it. Thank you.
So now let's talk about taking care of your crew. Gordon Corsetti was involved. I think some of you guys don't know, but a lot of you guys do, was involved in the development of the official training program way back when with US Lacrosse. And we lost Gordon a little over a year ago. And he was impactful to a lot of guys down here, not only down here, but all over the country. And one of his catchphrases was take care of your crew. And taking care of your crew involves many things, but we're going to kind of go through it, what we kind of see taking care of your crew about, right? It's not just the R, it's the U, it's the line judge as well. So, I mean, it's the CBO. Take care of your crew. You're a team. The worst thing I would think, and in my mind, the worst thing in the game, we could have two terrible lacrosse teams, but if we have a terrible crew that's not working together and not working as a crew, as one unit, that's what gets noticed. Not that there's two teams that can barely catch and throw a ball or whatever. If there's a bad officiating crew out there, that's the thing that people remember. So how do we want to be taking care of our crew? Let's be prepared. Let's be up to date on the rules. This is kind of what I have our first meeting tonight, and we go through the new rules. We're going to touch on 23 a little bit as well, just to reiterate some of the things that we need to keep looking out for. But know the rules. If you don't understand them, if you got a different interpretation, there are 9 guys on this training committee, and there are a number of senior members that are part of the TBLOA who will never turn down your phone call to answer your question. I can guarantee you that, because some of the same guys are in the association who I would call all the time, or I would go and ask them questions all the time. So don't be afraid to ask a question. The only thing you're going to do is learn something. Maybe a different interpretation, but it may clarify it in your head, right? Be familiar with the fields and teams. Don't just kind of walk out there and say, okay, this is so-and-so. The familiarity with the teams allows you to understand either the physicality of the game, where it's going to be, how you're going to have to officiate, right? Whether the field, dimension-wise, might not be set up correctly, so there might have to be moved around a little bit, right? The field size can be anything from 53 width should be 53 and a half or 53 and a third, right? Which is the normal width of a football field, to 60 all the way to the unified field, which goes all the way to 110 yards, right? With the
110
creases
to
not in
120.
a different spot, right? Go ahead, Dave.
It's 110 yards on a standard field, 120 on the unified
Right.
field. Hillsborough
Right.
County, it's pretty much always going to be a unified field at their public schools because they didn't want to paint twice.
Except that, what was it, Alonzo that used, they didn't use the full width of the field, they only used the football width, but they used the unified. So
Length,
each
yes.
field's gonna be different. Try to understand that, ask the question, hey, I'm doing a new field here, any issues I have to worry about? I can tell you that, I think Fishhawk finally got their, or Newsom finally got their turf field. Newsom was one of the worst fields to ever go officiate at, and if you didn't know it, and you walked out there, you would be like, okay, where am I gonna face off? Because literally 15 yards from on either side of the center line, if there was a center line, was dirt. And you were like, okay, how am I going to adjust this, right? So understanding where your fields, what fields you're at and so forth, maybe reaching out to some of the guys more senior, they can give you a little bit of clue, or the guys that were on the crew that did the game a week before, ask them if there was anything you have to worry about. A quick email will save you a lot of headache when you get there. The next thing is know your partners. We talked about, guys being professional and not being, and working through a game. But the other thing is know your professional. Every one of us has certain limitations along the line, right? There's something that we don't do well. We're not all 100% perfect. Knowing your crew allows you to get past those things, right? And knowing where you have to cover. If there's a guy who's just getting back into it after hurting his knee, right? Well, maybe we'll work something out for him, make sure he gets himself back up and into shape, but we'll work him out as far as rotation goes. So knowing your partners, right? That's a good thing. And communication is key. I wish we had a chat page. Well, we do. We have Facebook, right? Go out onto the Facebook chat, send a note to somebody. They'll respond. If they don't, send them a text via their information that's on Arbiter. Everybody's required to put a cell phone, right? So that they can be contacted should a game be canceled. How are we going to contact you? Well, we have your home number and you're en route, right? We need your cell phone number. So you can send a text. That doesn't mean you take advantage of that and start sending nasty grams. That's for professional purposes only. So I'm going to keep reiterating that. And then, being prepared also means could you fill the role as an R? Could you step up to the next role? Would you be able to lead if you need to? How do you assist your brethren, your crew members while you're out there, right? So that's kind of what we talk about when we're going through this stuff is, okay, kind of put it into bullet points. Those are kind of four we made up. Punctuality, right? We keep drilling on punctuality. Understand that if you're going to Durant from West Tampa, it could take you an hour and a half, literally. Preparation is key, right? Be prepared for your travel, right? Know how to get there. If you're going to be late, you should have your partners and your R's cell phone number. Communication should be had before that game between the crew. The pregame is not just for getting there and detoxing. It is, but it's also to ask those questions if you're relatively new. That's where I got most of my additional training, was when I show up early for a game and I would talk to the R and I would ask the questions of what happened in the last game. Did I make that call right, or did I miss something? Or here's the situation, and so forth. You'd be surprised how much you gather in those meetings. Plus, it gets the team, the crew, set to officiate as a crew, as one unit, right? Everybody knows what's going on. We don't have a guy going off on a tangent making a call that's contrary to the other two crew members, right? Everybody understands certain things. And again, I talked about field conditions, and I'm going to bring this such as Jesuit, 7 o'clock in the afternoon or in the evening on the north side of the field, the sun will be right in your eyes as the lead, right? That's where you have the discussion pregame. Okay, once the sun gets to the point where they can't see, if I'm the lead, I'm going to adjust my my view to the goal. I may have to turn on a 45-degree angle instead of being straight lined to GLE and the posts. And I may need the single to come down a little bit further to assist me because of the glare that comes off of the field from the sun. So these are little things that you go through in pregame, and it definitely makes things a hell of a lot easier for you during the game. Again, specific changes that the R wants, what I just brought up, and then answering your questions again, what I brought up earlier. Well, our recommendation as a committee is try to get there 75 minutes before game time. 15 minutes before game time is like a no-no, right? Yeah, you got there, but now the whole crew is in a tizzy, so to speak, right? Nobody knows. We're rushing onto the field. We haven't done pregame check, or they've done pregame check without you. Now you're going to your partners and going, okay, who's the in-home? Who are the captains? And who has AP? Is there anything I have to worry about? And at that 15-minute point, your R is probably talking to your timekeeper on the field to make sure everything's working. Do we have any special considerations? Do we have a prayer? Do we have a national anthem? Are we introducing seniors? At 15 minutes before a game, there's hardly any time to have a pregame with you in 5 minutes. So try to get there early. Entering the field no later than 30 minutes with, if you can get on a little bit earlier, get on a little bit earlier. It allows you to walk around, see if there's anything. On the old grass fields, you'll find potholes where sprinkler heads are. You'll find that, the old Wharton field had to drain right on the 50-yard line about 8 inches off of the sideline. And you'd have to make sure there was a pad there or something. You may find that the benches are 2 feet from the sideline and they have to be moved back. If that's something you got to take care of in your 30 minutes, you're not doing a proper pregame. So these are the things that you need to have in the back of your mind when you're getting to a game and you're doing your pregame. There's other things that, you need to make sure from a safety perspective, from a field readiness perspective, whether there's, a solid line through the 50-yard mark, panther that's sitting there. Those are things that need to get taken care of. And 30 minutes goes very, very quickly if you're not prepared. And so if you can get there earlier, get there earlier.
Last year, if you
go
go
ahead.
back for a sec,
To
to Tom's point,
you could just talk to it.
I can just talk. To Tom's point about getting on the field early, the earlier you get on the field and Tom pointed it out here, giving the home team a chance to rectify field issues. Last year, there were at least 3 fields where they were all painted incorrectly, where the midfield was 5 yards short on each side of the midfield line. Effectively, the school decided to use a unified field, but painted it 110 yards instead of 120. So the boxes were too close to the midline. And getting there early allowed us an opportunity to have the home team paint a new line where the top of the box should have been and avoid a technical foul before the game. Giving them that chance was only because we got on the field 30 minutes before game time instead of 20. They were literally still painting it just as they were about to start the national anthem. So give your teams the opportunity to fix problems. You won't have it if you're not on the field.
Talk about goodwill that you just garnered from that home coach. It may only last a quarter, but you never know.
Or at least the opening face-off. You never know. But
properly attired, right? We talked about being properly attired. I was talking to one of the association yesterday. He's like, yeah, my shirts are getting a little gray. My stripes are getting a little gray. I'm ordering new stuff. What do I need to do? How do I need to do this? And we kind of went through it together. I said, I was like, I kind of I rotate my black and whites. But I'm at the point now where I'm at the same point. It's time to get new shirts. They don't last forever, just like your hats that you might not be able to get the fade out of, right? You buy new hats, you get new shirts every once in a while. Make yourself look professional. If you look professional, you'll act professional, and other people will treat you professionally to the point of at least acknowledging that first minute you walk on that field, right? If you walk and your hat's brown and you've got no belt, your shirt's hanging out, and you're on a cell phone, how do you think you're going to be approached by those coaches once they have a questionable call? So when you do get there, right, don't be on the cell phone. If it's an emergency, step away, say, oh, I got an emergency or something, like the phone hasn't stopped ringing, you go check it or whatever. Things like that happen, right? We've all got families, we've got responsibilities other than doing this, right? But, you know, let's not be on the phone talking to your friend about getting tickets to go see the Lightning game in 3 days or something like that. You can do that afterwards, right? Be courteous and respectful to everybody. Everybody. You gain nothing by being a hard ass or being sarcastic. Some guys can pull off a joke here and there. Some guys can't. Don't even go down that road. Just be, you know, hey, how's it going? Congratulations on the season. It looks like you guys, you know, okay, things are going well for you. I love the new field, blah, 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 blah. Go through your pregame and go from there. Treat the timekeeper with respect. Treat the administrator with respect. Anybody you meet who's working for you at that field, and they are working for you, right? They're trying to keep that game hospitable, keeping the crowd ready, especially administrators and timekeepers and anybody else who may be at that table for you. They are there to help you and support your crew, right? So that professionalism needs to come across. As David says, he calls everybody sir. Even if he's tossing them from the game, he calls them sir. I call all the kids sir. Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir. He hands the kid, the goalie just got beat, you know, and they're down 10-0. He's so depressed. Thank you, sir. You know, maybe I'll give him a little bit of word of encouragement, right? Nothing wrong with that. Giving some encouragement, right? It goes a long way to making your day a lot easier. Wayne, you got anything to add? I swear he fell asleep.
No, I just tried to unmute myself. It's all good information. Not at this time.
Physically able to perform the duties required. Okay, so we're all at different stages in our life. Some of us aren't as crazy as me that go out running. I know that there are some officials who are out there on the soccer field and they are running up and down a soccer field all day on a Saturday. So they're in relatively good shape. There are guys who don't, right? And then all of a sudden the season comes and they're not really, you know, ready to perform out there to their best, right? Which again, take care of your crew. If you're not ready to get up and down the field as needed, right? That kind of puts pressure on the other two individuals. We work together. We work together as a team. We look good or bad as a team, right? Get out and walk, get yourselves prepped. You got a month, guys, before things really start to get hot and heavy. And nobody's saying you need to go out and do 3 miles every day, but get yourself loose. You know, if you need to get there early, stretch a little bit. We spend our days sitting, most of us, sitting at a desk, staring at a computer screen for 8 to 10 hours. And then we get in the car and we drive to a game and we haven't stretched. Stretching helps, keeps everything limber, and it'll help you move, get turned, you know, get up the field and get to where you need to be. So physically being able to perform the duties required is paramount to your success. Being mentally prepared to officiate. So go back to the cell phone, put the cell phone down, say goodbye, tell whoever it is you're going to talk to them in 2.5 hours, right? You may talk to them sooner, but 2.5 hours, if you've got a half-hour pregame, right? You're doing your certification and whatever, an hour and a half to 2 hours after that, you should be walking off that field and you can call whomever back. Try not to bring your troubles onto the field, right? This is only going to affect your performance. Knowledge and consistent rules, interpretation, and administration. That's where your training committee comes in. That's where we're here for. If you're not understanding something, new guys, relatively new guys, even older guys who you're just reading the rule and it's not clicking in your head, call, ask your R. What do they think of this rule? It helps. The more you talk about something, the more you go through it in your head, the better you're going to be able to make that split this second decision in the game, and it's going to be correct, right? If you can go through it constantly in your head and you know where you should be and how it's supposed to be adjudicated, there's no thought process to it. You're not holding that flag if it's a high hit to try to figure out what it is. You throw the flag, you know what it is, and you're comfortable, right? So, and in position needed as the game requires, meaning always being able to get there, back to the physicality, back to being able to perform the duties that you're getting paid for. In all honesty, you're not getting paid to stand at the top of the box and then walk to the next top of the box. Never getting to GLE and so forth. And I'm not saying anybody here would do that, but I have seen it done at games. I've seen it done at tournaments where guys don't even bother getting below the top of the restraining box and they're the lead. And they walk up to the midfield line and they hang out there. So in essence, they're going 25 yards, right? It doesn't look good for them. It also doesn't look good for the assigners. It doesn't look good for your partners. So be where you need to be. Enough for beating that.
Before you go on,
ahead.
Being physically able to perform the duties that you were assigned is important. No one on this call knows your body better than you do. You know whether or not you can do what needs to be done. And if you're not up to it, call your signer. Let them know, I can't do my next game. I'm not injured, but I'm hurt and I can't do it. Please take me off the next game. You're not asking him to pull your whole schedule. You're asking him to take you off the next game because you know you can't do it. You're doing your partner's a disservice. You're doing a game a disservice if you can't do the job. And your body probably needs the extra rest. So make the call.
I can tell you as an assigner as well, if you tell me that, hey, I'm injured and I can't do the games, I'm like, okay. I'd rather you tell me you're injured. One, I don't want you to further injure yourself. And being a guy who's constantly doing stuff, right? I'm out playing hockey. I'm doing other things, right? So I'm constantly, I don't want to further injure myself because I enjoy doing other things, physical things, right? I don't want you to further injure yourself. One thing goes and it's like a domino effect. If you push it too hard, all of a sudden you've pulled a muscle and now it's putting a strain on your knee and, now it's putting a strain on your back. I can tell you guys, taking a rest is a good thing. Stepping away for a little bit, we're not going to forget you. I'd rather honesty than you guys pushing through to get, the $70, $82 check or whatever, right? So as David said, we're not going to hold it against you, right? We'd rather you be healthy. There's a lot more games, many nights that we're going to be scrambling to fill guys, and you will get those games back for sure.
It's a lot better to miss one game than, as Tom said, doing yourself more injury and losing 6. So.
All right, so we're going to go into these rules changes, and some of them are not necessarily much for changes. It's more clarifications and rationale changes and so forth. So 1-6-1, Article 1, field cross. We used to have it all combined together. Dimensions for field players and the goalies in there. In this case, they basically kind of pulled out the goalie piece, struck it out from that other, and then added goalies, cross measurements, and length, similar to how it was listed above, but just to give it a little bit more clarity as to what is a goalie stick and what is a field player stick and what are the dimensions and so forth. Not much there, no change specific to what the rules were, right?
This is an editorial change because somebody actually tried to give a goalkeeper a penalty for a deep pocket. And it became the rules aren't specific on the pocket depth, so they moved it around a little bit, and so they split them out so there's zero confusion. In theory.
Mandatory equipment, right? Each player shall wear the following pieces of equipment, which shall be professionally manufactured. They took out "and," not altered, and shall be worn as the manufacturer intended. So, all right, let's just go to an extreme here.
Well,
Kid
what
can't
that
be
means
putting in it.
specifically is that elbow pads have to be on elbows. They're not bicep
Right.
pads. They're not arm pads. They're elbow pads. They got to be on the elbow.
So, simple enough. Protective helmet designed for lacrosse, which meets the NOCSI standard at the time of manufacture, which has been in there before, right? They took out both the chin pad and chin strap shall be firmly attached to the mask as designed. And the chin strap shall be worn under the chin and shall be firmly attached at all the helmet's manufactured attachment points, securely enough so that the helmet is unable to be removed without detaching the chin strap from the detachment points. We will get into this in the next couple of slides where we actually go through the rule for this. But this is because the kids just, if you can take your helmet off, and I play lacrosse, if you can take your helmet off without snapping your chin strap, it's way too loose. And we've had too many kids who have lost their helmet in the middle of the game, lost their helmet in the middle of a violent hit. And you know, this is where they're going with this. So it'll lead into a further rule. Protective gloves designed for lacrosse, arm pads designed for lacrosse, right? I don't know what they might be using other than lacrosse arm pads. Maybe they're using hockey arm pads, which are distinctly different than lacrosse arm pads. Having playing both sports, I can tell you that. This one, it was struck out, right? Suspend immediately if player loses any part of the equipment, right? Because it was further defined in 4-27, 24-7, right? In a situational determination. So basically, if a player loses a piece of equipment, the game is stopped. I think it was 3 years ago. And it actually was one of our own who's now up in North Carolina, was doing a Duke game. And I was at Nakai, was coming in. I may have been the ACC playoffs, and he's about to loses his shoe, and he immediately blows the whistle. Everybody on TV is flipping out because he had a straight run to the goal. Well, the rule states he's not properly attired. He's not properly equipped. He doesn't have his shoe on, and you immediately stop the game. Of course, this individual had to explain it to the coach. The coach acquiesced. They restarted the game. And from that spot, but these things happen, not just in the lower levels where a kid loses his pad, you know, his glove or his arm pad slides on his arm or whatever in the middle of a scrum and he's got no glove, right? This actually happens at the upper levels as well. The rule is the rule. They lose a piece of equipment, you stop playing, regardless if there's a scoring opportunity, all right? Stop playing. It is what it is. You're not properly equipped. So, David, you got anything else to add to that?
No, there's a difference between this rule and the college rule you might see on TV when we get to the helmet section later on. But
Yeah.
this part on the offensive side, if you stop play. On the defensive side, it's different in high school than it is in college. But player in high school or youth loses mandatory equipment in a scrimmage area, you kill it. If it's a player in possession of the ball, it's an immediate stoppage. There's no question.
So it was kind of cool the last couple of years. You'd see these teams coming out and they had monochrome jerseys, and you could barely see the different shade of black on a black jersey that just signified the number. No longer allowed. So as the rule states here, numbers may contain contrasting color trim not to exceed 2 inches, right? So it can't be this big, huge, wide thing. The body of the number shall be a single solid color that clearly contrasts with the body color of the jersey. So no monochromatic jerseys are allowed. And
We were seeing a lot with the white.
We
were seeing a lot with the white jerseys, where we'd have a white number on a white jersey outlined in gray or outlined in black, which made it very difficult to pick up the jersey numbers. And the rules committee said, yeah, can't do that.
And you don't know how much I heard about it, but I'm like, dude, how do you expect us to call the proper player, especially if there's a scrum? How are we supposed to know if it's 53, 58, 52, we can't tell which one it is, who had the penalty. And now you're screaming at us because we got the wrong guy. Well, I don't know. You want us to tell us. So there are a lot of teams that are going to be re-outfitting this year and they're not happy about it, but that's life. All right, here we go. Dave, you want to talk about this one?
Sure. This is the new helmet rule. And the rule is the same in high school and youth. It is different in college. So you will see a different interpretation of this if you're watching the game on TV. So for high school and youth, if a player loses his helmet, just like any other piece of equipment, it is an immediate stoppage, whether there is a scoring opportunity or not. But more importantly, the player who has lost his helmet must leave the field as if he were an injured player. Whether he's injured or not, he's lost his helmet. We consider him an injured player. He must leave the field and must stay out until the next dead ball following the resumption of play. So basically, we have a start and a stop. If a coach says, can I take a timeout to leave the kid in the game? The answer is no, because we don't, in lacrosse, we don't allow that. However, if he was in possession of the ball, his team was in possession of the ball when his player lost his helmet, and we resume play, he could immediately call a timeout after a second. And, if he wanted to burn a timeout for that purpose, he could after play had resumed. If it's on the defensive side, nope, he doesn't have that luxury. But part of the rule change requiring that the chin strap be on the chin, and that players not be able to take their helmets off without unstrapping. This rule is really designed to punish a kid who won't do it. If he won't wear his helmet tightly enough and his helmet comes off, well, now he's going to lose playing time over it. And the rules committee is hoping that it will encourage compliance. So that if you lose your hat in the field of play, you're coming off. And that's true whether the contact that caused the loss of helmet was legal or illegal. The player who lost his helmet must leave the field, whether it was a legal hit or an illegal hit.
Dave, does the rule state how we're going to handle and when we restart the play? Is it when the player leaves the field of play? Or when do we restart that?
We can't restart, just like we would do with an injured player. We can't restart play with him still on the field, right? We're going to let him get off the field.
Understood.
And
do you have to wait for the other player then to come back in and be ready to play, especially if it's a defensive player?
If it's me, I'm going to treat it just like I would treat an injured player, right? If somebody were down on the ground and we let coach walk them off, we would let somebody come on the field and we'd do a slow restart and get things back to from a fairness perspective, we would let them come back on. That's how I would do it.
It's not stated in the rules though.
It says we can't start until when we get to the AR. I think it's pretty clear. We have to make sure the player is off the field before we start. If it was an illegal contact, well, we're reporting a penalty. There's plenty of time for that.
Right.
But if it's a legal contact that caused it to go off, well, I'm treating it just like I would treat it if we had an injury for either side. And if either team had an injured player, we'd let that injured player go off. We'd let a substitute come on, and then we'd restart. Right. So that's how I would handle it.
Okay, I'm just saying that so that we're all consistent. Yep. I know that's how you would handle it, but there's nothing in the rules that says how we should handle it.
It says we have to make sure that player is off the field. But think about it this way: when are teams allowed to substitute without going through the box? After a goal, during a time-serving foul, and during an injury, right? So they have an opportunity to make that change. I would let them make the change. Let the injured in quotes player go off the field and restart when the field is set. I think that's the right way to handle that. As your rules interpreter, I'm saying that's the right way to handle it. How's that?
All right, moving on. All right, we got a bunch here, and these kind of this is kind of clarification to head and neck hits. The committee, I think, the rationale is listed. The committee saw reluctance to call 2-minute fouls on head and neck hits. So they kind of clarified some things here. Players should not shall not initiate contact to an opponent's head or neck with a cross check or with any part of the body, head, elbow, shoulder, etc. And it kind of took out any follow through the neck and so forth. And the player who makes indirect contact to an opponent's head or neck when the initial force of the contact is to the body of the opponent and then slides up to the head or the neck area. So they're kind of further defined. They cut it out of the first part and they added this second part. They took away Article 4 here. Basically what the committee is saying, right? They want the head hunting, the follow throughs, and we'll go through this stuff when we go through penalties because there's a couple of hits that you will see that are clearly start at one spot and end at another. And it should be you start at 2, not at 1, right? And then you go up from there. So this is trying to force your officials to use the tools that are available to curtail the physicality to a certain degree on these neck and head hits. So do you have anything else to add, Dave?
I do. So this is, the indirect contact. This is to make it consistent with the college rule. So this is strictly for a contact that started good. It was a legal contact initially, but then slid up into the head and neck, right? So you have a good body check with the shoulder, but slides up and gets the kid under the chin. Or, it starts in the chest and comes up high. Starts on the shoulder, rides up into the neck. And guys weren't calling it because that's not a 2-minute foul. So that is now a 1-minute foul. For it to be a 2-minute foul, it has to be direct contact to the head, or started good but was really violent and rode up. This rule only applies to high school. This rule is not valid at youth. This rule change is not supported for our U14 and below. That's going to be still staying at a minimum 2-minute foul for U14. So the indirect change is only at the high school level. It does not bubble down. Not two things to remember there. So starts good, finishes bad. It can be 1 minute non-releasable. But if it's at youth, it's still 2 minutes. Thank you.
No problem. They did some clarification on the ability of, the privileges of captains and so forth. You can read through these. A lot of changes. I don't think there's anything necessarily, David, that really we need to worry about here.
The rules basically said you can have one captain, but we've always allowed them to have more than one. And everybody in the whole country has always allowed them to have more than one. This just takes out the silliness that said you have to designate a captain and then redesignate every time the captain leaves the field. That was a bit anachronistic and arcane, if you will.
They took out from the chief bench officials in Article 27-2. Article 2, they took out 2 count crosses when requested and basically added it as a responsibility, as a called out responsibility, that's their responsibility to count that. These are the things you can do as a CBO. You don't have to be requested to count to see if there's 5 poles on the field, right? So it's just going to, clarifying some things, further defining it, giving it a good channel so that it's a little bit easier for officials to do their job. In no place, I guess there's a little bit of a, I don't remember this, but David might, because he's very good with but I guess there were times where the CBO becomes the timekeeper in certain games. So they want to clarify the CBO should not be responsible for timekeeping, right? If the home team doesn't have a timekeeper, right, it's not the CBO's nor the crew's responsibility to provide them with a timekeeper. They need to find a timekeeper. Our job
because the CBO had been in charge of the timekeeper. They figured you're in charge of the timekeeper, it's your problem. No, that's not how that works.
During the final 2 minutes of regulation play, stalling rules will be in effect for a team that is ahead by 4 goals or less, right? get it in, keep it in, procedural will apply, right? And it just kind of refers to page 431 of the book. Assumption being clarifying the language, right, which currently does not include get it in and keep it in language, meaning in the last 2 minutes of the game, I think some of us forget that we have to, tell them to get it in, keep it in, right? We can't restart in the alley and then let them stand out there because they had touched already. There was a shot, it went out or whatever. It's you get it in, keep it in. You give them 10 seconds, they got to get it in, and they got to keep it in, right? So this just kind of clarifies and make sure that you are adjudicating the rule correctly, as well, at least the intent. David?
Yeah, they just forgot to put the words "get it in" the original rule, so they just reworded it to put it in there.
Yep. All right, so this is kind of face-off related, right? It is face-off related. Upon the whistle, starting players shall not initiate body contact against their opponent. Body check against the player crouching is an illegal body check. I guess there needed to be clarification here. I know that we talked about this through the last couple of years when it came to face-offs. You cannot come up and through. Your job is to play the ball and get it out, right? Constantly telling kids in the younger age groups, we give them a warning the first time because usually they're not blowing guys up. But if they are, you hit them with it and send them to the box. We can't have that. I mean, as a face-off guy, right? I could tell you that, I'm all of 190 pounds maybe, right? And I'm going against guys who are 280 or more. And there's no way they're going to beat me on a face-off. So what they do is they just blow me up. If I had no recourse, right? If I don't have an official there who's going to call it, I'm done for the day, right? And that's going to happen if we don't adjudicate this correctly. I mean, yeah, I have a soft spot for face-off guys, but it's definitely a very vulnerable position. When I first started playing this game, the wing guys could run right through the face-off guys. They could come off the wing, and if they were engaged, they could run right through them. That's gotten away. So we are further defining and protecting those guys who are in a very, very, very vulnerable position. Their heads are down. They're watching the ball, right? And this guy comes up and through them. And if it's violent enough, it doesn't have to be a 1 minute, right? You can go higher, right? If he goes up and through, as we just defined, started okay, but he followed through right up through the kid's neck, put him on his back, right? And one way to stop him from doing that is to give him give him what is deserved. You have anything to add to that, Dave?
Nope. Just make sure they lay off the guy. That's it. No more. There's no more. I played the ball first and then I can check him. If he's still crouched, you can't touch him.
A violation will be called if a player picks up and carries the ball in the back of the stick. It is legal to clamp the ball at the back of the stick, but it must be moved, raked, or directed within 1 step. They took out immediately. And then they took out immediately is defined as within 1 step. So basically, they just clarified this rule to make it a little bit easier. I think we all kind of knew the rule, right? But new guys might have got a little twisted on it. Who knows? But it's good. I'd rather less and a more direct designation of how the rules should be applied than something that gets a little bit ambiguous or too wordy that allows more interpretation when there shouldn't be any. So when a loose ball goes out of bounds as a result of a deflected shot or a deflected shot at the goal, it shall be awarded to the team that had inbounds player bodies nearest to the ball when it became an out of bounds ball at the point where it was declared out of bounds. So still got guys saying, well, I got to the line. Well, you were 25 yards away and they're arguing with the official, right? Where that ball goes out, who's closest to the ball, where that ball goes out, right? And you stop play. Okay. They basically just took out some of the.
They took out the AP thing here because they don't want you to say, oh, they were equal, let's go to AP. They want you to make a decision who was closer and live with it, good or bad. Please remember that if a player dives, they lose all of their airspace until they touch the ground again. Rule 4.5 defines an airborne player using the concept you are where you were. So if I leave the ground to dive, I get credit for where I left the ground until I touch the ground again. Doesn't matter where my body is. If the ball goes out of bounds while I am airborne, I'm back to where I left the ground. I try and convince players not to dive all the time. It looks cool on TV, but the rule is the rule. Inbounds player, so you can't be out of bounds. And closest to the ball is determined where your body is while you're in contact with the ground, not while you're in the air.
I was a big diver in college. Maybe you were too, Wayne. You played defense as well, did you not? Did you do a lot of diving towards the end line at times? Those days are over. No more diving.
No, I wanted my attackman to get the ball so I could beat the shit out of him some more.
Sounds right.
All the good old days, right, Wayne? All right. A little bit more clarity here on face-off and when the ball goes into the defensive area or goes out of bounds, right? Face-off is considered to have ended when the ball crosses the defensive area line or it has gone out of bounds in the center field area, right? We took out, and the officials cannot determine who has responsibility, right? If the officials cannot determine who was responsible for the ball going out of bounds, the old way was the ball shall be awarded via alternate possession. Again, getting away from using alternate possession. The committee doesn't want alternate possession to be this catch-all. We're going to go right back to a reface. Right. So the rule states we're going to go be awarded block. It's supposed to go back to a reface. So we'll be awarded. The ball shall be awarded.
This rule was unclear. Yeah, the rule was unclear. Yeah, the rule was unclear before because it combined what are we going to do if it crosses the center defensive restraining line, or what are we going to do if it goes out of bounds? So here, the face-off's over when the face-off is over when it crosses the defensive area line, right? The restraining line, and we all yell play. We roll our arms anyway, and we yell play it, free ball, one of those. All three are good. But if the ball goes out of bounds in the center area, and we don't know who caused it to go out of bounds, we're just going right straight to reface. So they took out everything having to do with once it crosses the restraining line, all rules for face-offs are over. Face-offs over. Now we're just playing it like we would normally play it. If we don't know who caused it to go out of bounds below the defensive restraining lines, then we are going to go back. We're going to stick with AP. But while we're still dealing with the face-off and the ball's still in the center field area, we don't know, reface. That's really not a change. It's just some wording clarifications.
Right. Make sure I didn't go too far.
That's it. You're next.
Yeah. Goal shall be disallowed. Just again, they kind of took out a rule here, right? The ball is deflected or batted by a free-handed offensive player. I don't know why they had a goal will be allowed if
right. It's at a goal will be allowed.
They had a goal will be allowed.
Right. That's why they moved it.
Definition in there, which didn't make sense. So they just took that out.
And moved it into Article 3.
Yeah. Article 3, goal would be allowed if the shot is released prior to the end of the period. If the following occurred between the end of the period and the shot entering the goal will be disallowed. Rationale more appropriate, that's just continuation language, more appropriate to incorporate language into Article 3 than Article 2, which basically is, somebody put it in the wrong spot. For all restarts, the game shall resume as quickly as possible. They want delayed games to be called.
Well, they actually want to change the name of it now.
Go ahead.
They want to change it. So if a player failed to give 5 yards on a restart or got in the player's way on a quick restart, we've been calling delay a game for the last, 4, 5, 6 years now. They don't want to call it delay a game anymore. They just want us to go illegal procedure. They feel it didn't delay the game. We restarted, we played. But it was a procedure for not giving 5 yards. So they want us to call it an illegal procedure and not a delay, even though a delay is technically a type of illegal procedure. Anyway, that's all that is. Just if you have that, didn't give 5 yards on the restart, we're still flagging it, but we're calling it illegal procedure instead of delay game. That's all that is. Just report it differently. Same 30-second foul. I don't know.
All right, a player may not use equipment that does not conform to specifications. More along the lines of how do we adjudicate the foul? They took out the cutting the fingers out of the palms and all that other stuff, right? It's illegal equipment. We know it's illegal equipment. it should be penalized as a non-releasable foul. And the only caveat to that is a mouthpiece, right? So guy comes out there with a non-Noxy helmet, right? And you want to call it, you call it, right? You call
Box
it.
helmets are not legal for field lacrosse.
Yeah. I was gonna bring up box as well. So the team's second violation of the no defensive player other than the properly equipped goalkeeper can enter the, rationale, right? Basically, we know the rule, right? No defensive player. Back in the day, we could do it. In fact, I did it a lot, right? Goalie would step out to the top of the circle and I would step behind him as I was coming through. And if there was a shot coming, I would stand right there, hoping it would hit me too. That can't be done anymore. Right, I think the procedure before, Dave, was we give them, first one, it would be just.
The first one is a
conduct.
technical foul, and the second one is a releasable unsportsmanlike conduct foul, but it never specified it in the penalty section, only in the rule itself, in the play of the game rule in 418. So they actually very specific and added it into 510 as 510J. It always said so in 418, but they hadn't included it in 510, so they just cleaned up that editorial change.
Again, a lot of cleanup going on in this year's book. If the ball is loose, and if the team foul does not have possession of the ball, either the ball is loose or the offending team is in possession, and there is no flag down, award the ball to the team that was fouled. Excuse me. Adds more accurate detail, basically, right? So clarity, just kind of promote clarity on how we're supposed to restart, who gets the ball, and so forth. I do want to talk about this, right? Team foul does not have possession of the ball. Okay. So I was something I was going to bring up later on, right? We still have instances, guys, where there's a loose ball and there's a flag thrown and there's not an immediate whistle. Okay, if there's a loose ball, right, and you throw a flag, who knows? I mean, we can assume as your partners or your crewmates, who the foul is on, right? Especially if there's a scrub, right? Make sure you blow the whistle on those loose ball fouls. Penalties.
And the loose ball personal fouls where you've thrown a flag.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Here's a new
And
one.
This is the same thing we were just talking about with 418-4. The defensive player jumping in this is the technical foul for the first offense. Again, it's ruled a conduct foul. It was in 418-4, but they never put it in 6-6 for that conduct foul. So that's another cleanup.
Yeah. So that's the
not a
last
change,
one
just a
that
cleanup.
we're talking about, 66-4, right? So they basically just rolled that in and now it's part of the actual rules. All right. These are 2023 rule changes, and it's just, we're going to go through this real quick, right? Last year, we shortened the box, right? We shortened the transition area, right? We went to what is considered, I consider, right, the college had gone to, I don't know, 3 years ago, right? There's a transition area, and then there's the transition, like, waiting area, right? Immediate waiting area. Too many times in games, right? You got, oh, well, I'm going to get that guy in, and there's five guys standing in that additional 5 yards before the coach's area, as you see on this sign here. No player should be in that area unless their entry onto the field is imminent, meaning a defenseman is coming off the field and a shorty is going on for him. Okay, and then you can see that guy coming. Not that the ball's in the defensive end, and as we are transitioning, this guy who's standing right next to me in my coach's area, okay, he's going to go in for a pull. Well, no, he needs to stand outside it. We don't clean up our boxes. We deserve all the craziness that then happens in the box. The failure of the timekeeper to see the movement of the game, to see calls, to know when to stop the clock because their view is blocked, right? So a lot of this spacing and visual freedom and space is not only for good, clean transitions, but it's also for the timekeepers to do their jobs properly, right? If there's a mass of coaches and people standing in front of that timekeeper, how are they supposed to stop the clock correctly? How are they supposed to know, what you're saying and what you're signing if there's people in front of them? So it's our job as officials to make sure that that box area is clean and it's used properly. Kind of why I just brought this up, because I've seen that it hasn't taken hold at times, that we don't clean up the box enough. It's our responsibility, and if we don't do it, it's only going to hurt us. So again, back to this, it's still clarifying the sides and so forth. What's the coach's area and what's the transition area or substitution area, right? Don't be afraid to go back to last year's rules and look at the changes and so forth. Play shall be started at the beginning of each period and after each goalie facing the ball at center unless, right? Just bringing this up here to make sure, clarify certain things, player advantage or a flag down situation, right? Player or team commits a foul before any face-off, and player at any face-off delays resumption of play, right? Player moves the cross or body after set, right? So these are the exceptions for those restarts. Otherwise, we're at the center of the field. Now, any official may suspend play at their discretion. If you deem a player is injured or has lost mandatory equipment, you still have the ability, regardless of how the rules have been written and adjusted, right? If you feel that there's an imminent danger to that player or he is in distress or whatnot, stop play, right? Your job is to protect all the players on the field. Be wrong in the right way, if that makes sense, right? Nothing crazy is going to happen if you stop play to take care of an injured player or whatever, right? I'd rather see that than letting something go and a kid doesn't get taken care of as quickly as he could. Dave, got anything?
No, this was when they brought this
Last
in, they
year.
wanted,
Go ahead.
right, they wanted to remind everybody that once a goalkeeper is outside of the crease, we're going to treat him like a field player. So if he loses his cross outside the crease, we're going to let play continue. If he breaks his cross outside the crease, he's got to leave the field. He can take his cross with him or leave it there, either one, but he's got to go. If he tries to play with a broken cross or without his cross, then we have playing without a cross, and it's either going to be a loose ball play on or it's going to be a flag down in that situation. Unless his team has the ball and we're going to turn it over, but that's going to be rare. If the goalie says, oh crap, and tries to run back to his crease without his cross because it turned the ball over, well, he's playing without a cross. And as soon as he gets into now we're going to let play continue unless he gets in the crease. We've got a flag down for playing without a cross, but as soon as he gets in the crease, now we have an improperly equipped goalkeeper and we stop play. Right now we've got somebody in the crease without a goalkeeper in the crease without proper equipment. It's a safety issue. That's when we would stop play. Otherwise, we're going to have a flag down for playing without a cross. While the simple act of him running back to the crease, even if he's not in the scrimmage area because the ball's over on the wing, is playing without a cross. If he breaks his cross, he has two options. He can pick it up and run off the field or leave it and run off the field. Those are his only two choices. Everything else is going to be a problem. And that was a change they put in last year.
That's funny that you bring that up, pick it up and run off the field. I don't know how many times I still see guys, coaches yelling at the kids to throw the stick on the ground and run off the field.
That's a hockey
If they
rule.
can get off the field without impacting play, let them take their stick. I'd rather that than a kid trip over it and, hurt himself because the stick was left in his path.
Of course, throwing the stick is also a penalty, so don't do that either. And throwing a broken one, it could be an intent to injure problem, so don't do that.
All right, just reminder on the goal, on the stall warning, right? It remains in effect. Till a goal is scored, a shot is taken above the goal line extended. I kind of wanted to make sure that we understood what makes a shot, right? Above goal line extended, right? It's not 5 inches back and he threw it at the back end. He never got above GLE with this cross. It's not a shot, right? The ball never got above goal line extended, it's not a shot. So it's kind of why I left this one in here, because it gets adjudicated in different manners, and something, you know, you should talk about in your pregame if you have a question about it. During running time, penalty time will start with the whistle resuming play after penalty is administered. If there is time remaining on a non-releasable penalty when a goal is scored, the earliest the penalty was released is when the ensuing face-off has been completed. Completion of a face-off means a possession call. As officials, if a kid picks it up right in front of the box, don't set him up to get blown up by being too quick on your possession call, because that kid's primed and ready to come out of the box. Let him clear that area. You do it on a restart, right? I'm not saying give him 10 yards of free run, but definitely not in front of the box to have him get blown up from a guy coming off from the sideline, right? Now you've got to adjudicate another foul on the guy for, you know, for a hit that you basically helped happen. So just be aware. Variable fouls must be served. This is for youth, right? Just a reminder that all fouls are full-time in youth. All right. If you're doing youth games, full serve.
Are no
Even if
releasable
it's a
penalties.
tournament. Go ahead. What's that?
There are no releasable penalties
Correct.
to youth anymore. All fouls are full serve. Even a 30-second push where you blow it in real quick and they shot score and it's over in 3 seconds. Guess what? It's 27 more seconds of penalty time. Or if it's time and a half, 42 seconds more of penalty time while the clock runs and you're still facing off man down. And as that prior rule just said, that guy can't come in from the box until both the penalty time has expired and possession has occurred. So bear that in mind.
All right. All right, we're going to quickly go through Arbiter. Mike's back. He's ready to join us, go through the secretary stuff, and we'll try to get you off of here quickly. Guys, Arbiter is my lifeline as your assigner. Okay, I'm going to tell you that. If I don't have a valid cell phone number, if I don't have an address, right? If I don't have a cell phone number, I can't contact you, right? And I got to tell you, I get my games on Wednesday, 90% of the time. So I spend the next 24 to 48 hours trying to get those games in, right? Because you know how we do things here in TBLOA land, right? TBLOA land, right? You've got 40 games at one site with 4 different youth groups, right? So now I'm trying to get them all into the system, make sure that they're on the proper fields. I've gotten 2 changes since I started, because they went from naming the fields A's, A, B, alphas to numbers, and then now number 7 is now number 4, and number 3 is now number 1. And just so you understand, I don't give you games late because I choose to, right? It's because of what we get on the other side given to us and the constant changes. And Dave had to feel my pain a couple of times because they were sending him the stuff. And literally we were getting changes at 12 o'clock on Friday. What happens from there is now I'm chasing guys, because if there's a change to venue and or field numbering and or whatever, what Arbiter does is if I change that or if I change a name, it re-sends that confirmation that you need to accept out. So now I'm chasing to see if guys know that there's been a change. And that's where I need your cell phone number, because I'll be sending you texts. And if I have to call you, now I'm really getting frustrated. Accept your games, accept your games, accept your games. I need to know if you're going to accept your games. If not, I have to find another guy. Now, your address is important, because from your address, if you are in Spring Hill, right? I don't know, Stan, if you're up in Spring Hill, right? Not that I don't want to give you games, right? But if I can only give you 3 games and you've got to drive to Manatee, right? And you're paying $3 a gallon for gas, right? I may not give you those games unless I absolutely have to, right? I'd rather get you games at Keystone, which is a hell of a lot closer, right? Or maybe even Pinellas or Tampa, right? So I use the address to help me set up better travel times for you guys and not make it onerous for you guys to make money, right? And I don't want you to lose money by doing it. None of anything I do is malicious. If that information is not in Arbiter, I can't do my job correctly, right? And then you're getting frustrated. Make sure you have an emergency contact on there with a number that that person can be contacted at, right? If they only use their cell phone, put their cell phone. I don't know how many people actually have home phone landlines anymore, but if you have to, list them twice and list both. We've had instances where officials have gone down and we've needed to contact somebody and we didn't have the ability to do so. And then set up your blocks. If you're blocked for a weekend, block yourself. Okay, and I'm going to clarify blocks. If you're doing a tournament, and I recognize guys do basketball, soccer, they do softball, they do volleyball, they do a whole bunch of other things. You're officials by trade, right? If your games are done at 12 o'clock in your other gig, right? Theoretically, unless you're right next door to the venue that those games are at, I'm going to be very, very hard pressed to get you games at a facility because most games are done by 3 on a Saturday afternoon, right? And then you got to travel there and then you got to do so. So I would rather you blocked your whole day than blocked yourself for 3 hours, unless it's an event day such as Jamboree or year end. I guess they call that a Jamboree as well, the year end Jamboree, right? Where those games are going to be going until 6 or 7 o'clock, and then I can get you games. But during the regular season for youth, very, very hard for me to get you games if you're blocked from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Not going to happen. So I'd rather you block your day, and if I need you, I will contact you directly. So David shows his nice, beautiful picture here. He's got his emergency contact. He's got his cell phone number. He's got a proper address. New guys, you need to make sure. See that little up in the left-hand corner? There's a little gray with the check mark. You can put all this stuff in. If you don't click that ready, you don't come up, right? You might have gone through all your stuff, but if you don't click ready, you're not going to show up on my list of available officials. Okay.
If you're a member of more than one association, you have to click ready for each one where you're ready. Clicking it in your basketball association will not make you ready for TBLOA. So bear that in mind. You have to check ready for each association where you're ready.
All right. So we talked about, your carrier as well, knowing that as well. Having a picture on there is really, really good. Okay. I meant to bring that up.
Click again.
I need to know who you are. I don't know, there's a lot of times I'm not
Tom,
sure.
click one more time.
Especially you new guys, right? Get a picture. Your arm might not know you yet. Might have heard of you. Might have heard you're a great guy. You're really into it and you want to learn and so forth. But you come walking up and he doesn't know who you are. So let's help each other out. Let's get a nice picture up there, right? Not one with you flexing, okay, in a tank top, a golf shirt is fine, but make it look somewhat professional. You are getting paid for this, so you are a professional. All right, we did the ready mark. Okay. User preferences, give reminder, time zone.
Click.
Check every box. So this is going to let you know everything that's going on, whether it's changed and so forth. If you don't click any of these and I change a game, how are you going to get notified? Right? So make sure you're in the proper time zone or you'll miss games. Connect your Arbiter schedule to your calendar.
You can do that with Outlook, iPhone, Google Calendar. There's an iCal feed you can feed into it. The other thing that isn't highlighted below the time zone is the date range. You can see we did this slide a couple years back. Make sure that your dates down here at the bottom are are in fact the right dates for 2024, or you won't see the games in your schedule. You'll be like, how come I got no games? Or I got a notification that I got a game, but I can't see them. Maybe you need to change your date range. So make sure that it's set for 2024.
Payments. Did we do anything with payments?
Not yet. Move on.
There we go.
Nope, too many. Back up
Too
one.
many.
There we go. So this is where you're talking
That
about
one?
share.
That one.
No, one
Yeah.
more. This one. Tom was talking about making sure that you can, that your other assigners can all see your schedules, so you don't get double scheduled. Right? If you have a game with TBLOA, you don't want one of your other associations to give you a game at the same time. So make sure that your assigners from other associations can see that you have games and what your schedule is. Hey, sometimes it'll be like, oh, you have a softball game at Alonzo High School that starts at 4 o'clock. Well, they've got a lacrosse game that goes at 7. Would you like to just stay there and do that game? You don't have to travel. You're already there. The assigner can see that and make that suggestion to you, and it helps him out because you're already there. So making sure that your assigners can see that, check all the boxes, let everybody see everything. It makes everything a lot easier makes it easier on the assigners, makes it easier for you to get games. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, so there's a tab up here called payments. That's the Arbiter Pay, right?
Yep.
Guys, I know a lot of guys don't want to do Arbiter Pay and like getting checks and stuff, but I can get, we are in that world now. Guys pay things with their phones. I don't think they cut, I see people, they don't even carry wallets anymore. Everything is done on their phone. I'm not that far, but I do like the fact that if I'm getting paid for a tournament or I'm getting paid for a game and it's sitting in my payment system, I click the button, it's in my account relatively quickly. Once, treasurer gets it and he gets the money and he clears it through and all that other stuff that needs to get done, right? It's nice to have that money there. So if you like getting your money quickly, right? Because, high school games, you're not going to get paid on the field. It's gonna get paid to the association. The association is then gonna have to process it. Now it's either they process it, let it clear, then cut checks from the bank, and then the bank mails it to you. So you're looking at probably another 3 or 4 days. When they cut the check, it clears, they process the payments in the system, and boom, it's sitting there. You accept it and you transfer it into your account. It's all personal preference. My preference is have it set up anyway. If you're gonna cut me a check, great. But if you can put it through Arbiter Pay, I'm okay with that as well.
Please understand that TBLOA is cutting all of our checks via Arbiter Pay this season, so you must set it up, like it or not.
Okay. There you go, guys.
That is how we are paying officials this year, so that we don't have to worry about lost checks in the mail. When we pay you, it'll be there. I think it's the next day, and then you can transfer it out and have it 2 days after that, and no mailing involved, no lost checks. No bank not taking a week of float to mail out the checks and all that garbage. So we're doing what we can to try and get you paid faster. So Tom's point is well taken. You must set up your Arbiter Pay or you won't get paid.
That makes it even easier. All right, I think that's the end of me. Mike, do you need me to pull up a slide, or do you have your information?
Oh, there's one more here, travel limits. I'm going to touch on that real quick, Tom. Inside of blocks are travel limits. You can say, I don't want to travel more than X miles from my location. You can say that, but it will limit your game count. This is mine. I have it set to, nobody knows where I'm going to be that day, and so they can't measure 50 miles from nowhere. But you can put in your postal code for if you're going to be at home in the afternoon, or if you're going to be at work in the afternoon, put where you're going to be leaving from. But if you're going to go directly from work to a game, then during the week, set your postal code for Monday through Friday to be where you're working. And then set a travel limit. We do require that everybody take a Polk County game for those refs who don't live in Polk County. We ask everybody to do at least one Polk County game a year that'll be outside your travel limit. At our meeting on the 27th, assuming we have all of our schedules in like they're supposed to be, we'll have a list of our Polk County games. We'll ask guys which ones they'd be interested in working. Doesn't guarantee you'll get that game, but you can sign up for some Polk County games to make it easier on our assigner. That'll be a help, but set your travel limits. Joe Garcia wants to make sure that the South Gulf guys know that South Gulf does not pay via Arbiter Pay. That's a TBLOA thing for TBLOA games. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. And I hope South Gulf guys understand that that was a TBLOA thing. But
And the
do set your travel limits.
Guys, the South Gulf guys don't have to go to Polk County unless they want to.
Yeah, we'll happily, assign and get their extra $10 for going to Polk County from down there. Sure. No problem. Thank you, Tom.
No, that's not a problem. I'm done.
Michael.
Mike's gonna jump in and he's gonna go through all the secretary logistical stuff that you need to get done in order to
Jessica
do
Lunsford.
high school games and making sure that you're fingerprinted if you need to be and so forth. So Mike's going to talk to that and then we'll be back in a week. So go ahead, Mike.
Hey, thank you. First of all, guys, this is really our time to get our minds right as we get ready for the season. It'll be here in the next couple of weeks. So thank you for the training committee here with TBLOA and South Gulf guys. Absolutely a pleasure to have you hopping on. It's our brotherhood, how we all are in this together to help one another out. So part of my role as secretary here is to try to help us as we get ourselves ready to get on the field here in a couple of weeks here, not only with our training, but also with some other things as well. Big shout out before I get started out to Scott Davey, who was secretary prior to me. He is actively assisting me behind the scenes and helping me with a lot of our transitions in regards to some of the paperwork that we have to submit here. As an organization, TBLOA, are one of our core counties is Hillsborough County. And per our bylaws, our work is to be fingerprinted through Hillsborough County schools. And so I work very closely here with Scott that has some connections there and assisting me. So a couple of things here. If you're a transfer official here, if you're a current TBLOA official, and we need to get you fingerprinted and cleared, you may have already done that, right? So if you are a football official, a basketball official, a soccer official, you probably may have already gotten your fingerprints done. And if so, you are good to go. Just make sure that we know that that's done. Message me, send me an email. Just let me know that you've already gotten your fingerprints cleared and you've already gotten them completed. You're good to go as far as we're concerned here. If you are up for a renewal, a couple guys have been emailing me, texting me. Email me is always the best way to do it because I check my email and I clear my emails so I can help you out. But the reality here is it's an I-9 form that we have from our Department of Homeland Security here. And it's a really simple process there. You put your last name, you put your first name, you put your current mailing address, you put your city, your state, your zip, your date of birth, your social security number, your email address, your phone number,
Firstborn child.
You indicate, yep, pretty much, David. You indicate that you are a citizen of the United States of America. You sign it, and you date that thing, and then you indicate what is your primary form of ID. 90% of us are going to use our driver's license, so you'll put your driver's license in part 2 for the state of Florida, along with that driver's license number and that expiration date. I've already seen a couple of people have active passports. Same thing, that would be another form of ID. And then on the bottom of the form, I kind of have to sign off on that. So you kind of complete part 1. You put in what part of your ID that you're using here, your verification. Like I said, ID, driver's license, or passport. And then I have to kind of fill out the bottom of that. And then I take that along with the cover sheet and I send it over to Hillsborough County Schools to get some pre-approvals. And then once the pre-approvals are done, they're going to notify us as far as that you've been approved to go get yourself fingerprinted. And there's a whole simple process of a website that you go to and you click on it and you find the closest place to get yourself fingerprinted, and then you can move forward with the rest of that process. There is a cost to do that. It's the price of doing business here as an official, and just follow those prompts. As your secretary here for our Tampa guys, TBLOA, those cards will come to me, and then I will do my due diligence to meet up with you, hopefully, and get those out to you at some point in time. I used to go to a shop and pick up trophies when I worked in the golf business, and the guy in the trophy shop had that little picture there framed, and it said, "An emergency on your part doesn't mean it's an emergency on my part." So here we are. I got a bunch of weeks ahead of it. If you've never been fingerprinted before, or you need to get your badges updated, let's try to get to work here. Our guys that are in the process or have done this before, don't make my life difficult, please. You know what you're doing. Just fill out your I-9, get it over to me, and then I'll move it forward for you. The newbies, I expect a little bit more hand-holding. That's fine. It is what it is. I heard earlier on the call, hey, we're 100%. You got a question for training committee, find a brother. We're going to help you out. That's what this thing is all about. Myself as secretary here, I wear two different hats. If you want to talk lacrosse rules or a question, I'll give you a call, no problem. If it's part of this whole procedure for onboarding with our newbies, I'll get to you. Just give me a little bit of time here. My faith, my family, my work. I'm refereeing basketball as well. I'm trying to catch up on things, and we're getting ready to commence a whole nother season here of lacrosse for some of us starting this weekend. So before we know it, we're going to be super busy with a lot of stuff. So the newbies, we understand. Those are the ones that finished their training here this past fall. I sent an email out before. If I haven't heard from you, I'm going to do one more round of emails out to everybody with an updated onboarding email regarding these next steps to get yourself fingerprinted and cleared, and then how to continue to move through the whole process there. But again, you may not get an immediate email or reply. There was somebody here that sent me over an I-9 form Friday evening, and they wondered why I didn't get back to them over the weekend. Well, life kind of gets in the way. So here we are on Wednesday. I got your form and it's processing currently. So whoever sent me an I-9 on Friday, just know that things are also going to happen behind the scenes. So you may not always hear from me right away, but some things are moving forward in that regard. Again, I'm doing my best here, learning it. Fingerprinting is not the easiest thing in the world, especially with us, where there are guys that are lacrosse specific. We're going to help us lacrosse specific guys go through the process. Me, basketball, I did my basketball clearances through West Coast, and they were very helpful with me in the past. But I'm here to move forward as a secretary and support this fingerprinting endeavor as we get ourselves ready for the field. So questions, thoughts, concerns, email is my best email. Gosh, if you don't know my email by now, I don't know what you're missing, but feel free to hit me up in any way, shape, or form. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, David.
To make it easier on
Funny, I
everybody,
just checked my IDs and mine are done on 3/5, so I'll be contacting you.
Mike's email is
March 5th, you're
PSU
done.
as in Penn State University, Gunther with an H @yahoo.com.
Hi, guys. Anybody have any questions before we?
I'm going to let everybody unmute themselves and then we can take any questions. Otherwise, I think we are finished for this evening. Thank you all for attending. We'll see you all next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel. The floor is open for questions if anybody has any.